Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple but profound question. Who is stopping you? Who is the one placing barriers in your path, whispering doubts in your ear, and keeping you from reaching the heights you dream of? Is it society? Is it fate? Or is it something much closer yourself? We spend our lives blaming circumstances, fearing failure, and waiting for the right moment. But the biggest battle you will ever fight is not against the world, it is against your own limitations, your own conditioning, and your own mind. Today, we are not here to discuss the external world. We are here to talk about the most powerful and complex force in your life, you. Let's embark on this journey of self-transformation, where we will tear down the walls of doubt and step into the limitless potential that is waiting within you. The greatest wars are not fought on battlefields, but within the human mind. The real battle is not against society, circumstances, or even fate, it is against the self. If you look closely, no one has ever held you back as much as your own doubts, insecurities, and conditioning. The voices in your head that whisper, what if I fail? What will they think? Am I even capable? These are the real obstacles standing between you and your highest potential. The world outside has far less power over you than the world within. From childhood, we are shaped by the expectations of others. We are told what we can and cannot do, what is possible and what is impossible. Slowly, these words become a part of our inner dialogue, dictating our choices, our dreams, and even our sense of self-worth. But the truth is, these limitations are not real. They are merely beliefs passed down, reinforced by past experiences, and fueled by fear. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. The reflection you see is shaped by how you perceive yourself, not by who you truly are. If you see yourself as weak, incapable, or unworthy, you will act accordingly. But if you see yourself as powerful, limitless, and fully capable, your actions will reflect that. The real challenge is not to change the world, it is to change the way you see yourself. Take a moment to think about the times you have held yourself back. Not because the opportunity wasn't there, not because the resources were lacking, but because of the voice inside that said, maybe this is not for me. How many dreams have you abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because you convinced yourself they were? How many times have you settled for less, not because you didn't deserve more, but because you thought you weren't ready? This self-imposed resistance is the greatest enemy. It disguises itself as logic, caution, or practicality, but in reality, it is fear wearing different masks. And the longer you listen to it, the more power it gains over you. It builds walls around your potential, keeping you confined in a prison of hesitation and regret. But here is the truth, these walls are made of nothing but thoughts. The moment you choose to walk through them, they crumble. There are two versions of you. One is the person you are today, shaped by doubt, fear, and conditioning. The other is the person you could become, the one who exists beyond limitations, beyond hesitation, beyond fear. The only thing standing between these two versions is a choice. A choice to break free from the false narratives that have kept you small. A choice to step beyond the comfort of old excuses and embrace the unknown. A choice to stop being your own enemy and start being your greatest ally. Nothing outside of you is as powerful as what is inside you. Not circumstances, not opinions, not failures. The real battlefield is within. And the moment you conquer the enemy inside, nothing in the outside world will ever have power over you again. I imagine a mighty elephant tied with a thin rope. As a baby, it was bound by the same rope, and at that time it was too weak to break free. It tried and failed over and over again until one day it stopped trying altogether. Now, as a full-grown giant with the power to uproot trees, it still remains tied to that same fragile rope, never realizing that it could break free at any moment. Not because the rope is strong, but because the belief in its mind is unshakable. This is not just the story of an elephant. This is the story of countless people, trapped in their own mental prisons. The chains that hold them back are not physical but psychological. The limitations they live by are not real but learned. From childhood, people are conditioned to believe in their own weaknesses. They are told what they can and cannot do, what is possible and what is beyond their reach. Over time, these words become their truth. They stop questioning, stop challenging, and most dangerously, stop trying. The mind is powerful, it creates reality. If someone believes they are incapable, they will act as if they are. If they believe success is beyond them, they will never chase it. But here's the truth, these beliefs are nothing but illusions built by past experiences, shaped by external voices, and reinforced by fear. The moment one questions them, they begin to dissolve. The moment one dares to act against them, they lose their grip. Look at the barriers that exist in life. How many of them are real and how many exist only in the mind? Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, none of these things have actual power. They are shadows that grow larger only when one runs from them. The moment one turns around and faces them, they begin to shrink. Now think about the moments when hesitation has held you back, when you wanted to speak up but stayed silent, when you wanted to take a step forward but remained frozen, when you knew you were capable but still doubted yourself. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of mental conditioning, the result of years of self-doubt reinforced by society, past failures, and fear of the unknown. But what if just once you decided to ignore that voice of doubt? What if you acted not from fear but from possibility? There is only one way to break free from mental chains, by proving to yourself that they are not real. The only way to overcome fear is to walk straight through it. The only way to destroy self-doubt is to take action despite it. It is not about waiting for confidence to arrive, it is about moving forward even when fear is present. A bird does not question whether it can fly, it simply spreads its wings. A seed buried in darkness does not doubt whether it can grow, it simply reaches for the light. The natural state of life is growth, expansion, and possibility. It is only the human mind that creates barriers where none exist. No one is truly held back by circumstances. The real chains are invisible, forged by years of false beliefs. And the key to breaking them is not outside, it is within. The moment one realizes this, the walls that once seemed unbreakable turn to dust. The limits that once seemed real disappear. The prison that once confined the mind vanishes. Because in truth, the doors were never locked. They were only waiting to be pushed open. A seed buried beneath the soil does not question whether it will grow. It does not sit in fear, wondering if the sun will shine or the rain will come. It simply begins its journey upward, pushing through the darkness, knowing that its purpose is to rise. It does not need permission. It does not wait for the right conditions. It only knows one thing: growth is its nature. This same force exists in every human being, yet so many hold themselves back, not because they lack ability, but because they lack belief. Self-belief is not just a feeling, it is a force. It is the foundation upon which every achievement is built. Without it, even the most talented, the most intelligent, and the most capable individuals will remain stuck. With it, even the most ordinary person can accomplish the extraordinary. Every great success in history did not begin with resources, privilege, or luck. It began with an unshakable belief and inner conviction that said, "This is possible for me." Yet, for most people, self-belief is the very thing that is missing. Not because they are incapable, but because they have spent years absorbing doubt from the world around them. From childhood, they are told to be realistic, to be careful, to not aim too high. They hear more about what they cannot do than about what they can do. And slowly these words become their truth. They begin to doubt their own abilities, question their own potential, and shrink themselves to fit within the limits others have placed upon them. Imagine a person standing at the edge of a vast ocean, wanting to cross to the other side, but believing they are too weak to swim. If they never take that first step into the water, they will never discover that they are stronger than they thought. The problem is not the ocean. The problem is their belief about themselves. The greatest limitations are never in the world outside, they are in the mind. Every time a person tells themselves, "I am not good enough, I don't have what it takes," or "this is beyond me," they are building a wall between themselves and their own potential. And the worst part, that wall is made of nothing but thoughts. It is not real. It is not solid. It only exists because they believe in it. The moment they choose to believe differently, it begins to crumble. There is a simple truth about self-belief: it grows through action. No one starts with complete confidence. Confidence is not something a person is born with. It is something they build. A person does not believe they are a runner until they start running. They do not believe they are a leader until they start leading. They do not believe they are capable until they take action again and again, proving to themselves that they are. The problem is that most people wait for confidence before they take action, when in reality, action comes first, belief follows. If a person spent as much time strengthening their self-belief as they do feeding their doubts, their entire life would change. If they spoke to themselves with encouragement instead of criticism, if they focused on what is possible instead of what is difficult, if they saw challenges as opportunities instead of obstacles, they would begin to realize something life-changing. The only thing that has ever truly been in their way is their own mind. The world is full of people who were told they could not do something until they did. People who were doubted, who were laughed at, who were told their dreams were impossible until they made them a reality. The only difference between those who succeed and those who do not is that one group chooses to believe in themselves despite the doubts, while the other allows the doubts to define them. There will always be voices that say you can't. There will always be reasons to hesitate, to wait, to stay where it feels safe. But at the end of life, no one regrets failing. They regret never trying. They regret not believing in themselves when it mattered most. Because in the end, the only belief that truly shapes a person's life is the belief they have in themselves. And the moment they choose to believe fully, deeply, without hesitation is the moment everything begins to change. In the overwhelming noise of the world, the most important voice is often the one that gets lost, the voice within. Every day, people are bombarded with opinions, expectations, and distractions. The mind is constantly occupied with endless thoughts, worries, and fears. It is always reacting, always calculating, always jumping from one thing to the next. But in all this noise, the truth of who a person really is gets buried. And if one never takes the time to listen, they will spend their entire life chasing after answers that have always been within them. Silence is not emptiness. It is not loneliness. It is not the absence of something. It is the presence of something far greater than any external noise. When a person sits in silence, they begin to see themselves clearly without the labels, without the conditioning, without the distractions of the world. They begin to hear the voice that has been drowned out for so long, the one that knows exactly what they are capable of, exactly what they want, and exactly what is holding them back. But people avoid silence because it forces them to face themselves. It removes all the excuses, all the distractions, all the justifications, and leaves only the truth. And for many, this truth is uncomfortable. It reveals the gap between who they are and who they could be. It shows them their fears, their insecurities, and the fact that they have been playing small, not because the world has forced them to, but because they have allowed it. Yet this discomfort is the beginning of real transformation. It is in silence that a person realizes they are not their fears. They are not their past. They are not the opinions of others. They are something far greater, something far more powerful. But this realization does not come through thinking. It comes through deep awareness, through stepping beyond the restless mind and into a state of clarity. The world teaches people to always seek answers outside of themselves, to look for validation, guidance, and solutions from others. But no one else can truly tell a person who they are. No one else can define their path. The greatest wisdom, the deepest truths, and the most profound insights do not come from books, from teachers, or from society. They come from within. And the only way to access them is to be still, to listen, and to allow that deeper intelligence to rise. A river does not struggle to flow, it moves naturally, effortlessly. The sun does not hesitate to shine, it simply does. This is the nature of existence. And when a person connects with that deep stillness within themselves, they stop struggling against life. They stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and questioning their every move. Instead, they begin to act from a place of knowing, from a place of absolute clarity. They stop seeking approval because they already know their worth. They stop hesitating because they already know the next step. They stop fearing failure because they understand that every experience is simply part of the journey. But in order to reach this state, one must first learn to be alone with themselves. Not with their phone, not with distractions, not with the noise of the world, just with themselves. This is where the real work happens. This is where the illusions fall away, where the fears lose their power, where the mind stops its endless chatter, and something far deeper takes over. Most people will never experience this because they are too afraid to slow down, to be still, to face the truth of who they are. But those who do, those who dare to step into the silence, discover something life-changing. They realize that they have never truly been lost. They have never truly been without direction. They have simply been too distracted to hear the answers that were always within them. And once they reconnect with this inner knowing, their actions become effortless, their decisions become clear, and their lives begin to flow in a way they never imagined possible. The greatest deception in life is the idea that the obstacles we face are outside of us. People blame circumstances, society, their past, and even fate for where they are, never realizing that the true battle has never been external. It has always been within. Every limitation, every struggle, every fear, none of them have real power unless they are accepted as truth. The problem is not the world outside, it is the mind that has surrendered to these illusions. Look at the way most people react to challenges. The moment something seems difficult, the mind immediately begins creating reasons to avoid it. It's too hard, maybe it's not meant for me, I don't have what it takes. And just like that, they stop themselves before they even begin. Not because they are incapable, but because they have trained their mind to retreat at the first sign of resistance. The truth is, difficulty does not mean impossibility. Struggle does not mean failure. Obstacles do not mean stop, they mean grow. The mind has two choices in every situation: to see something as a barrier or to see it as a challenge. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not luck, not intelligence, not even talent. It is the ability to see challenges as opportunities for expansion. The person who embraces struggle as fuel for growth will always rise, while the one who avoids it will remain exactly where they are, trapped in their own excuses. Think about a river flowing through a mountain. When it encounters a rock in its path, it does not stop. It does not turn around. It does not sit in frustration complaining about the obstacle. It finds a way forward, it moves over, around, or even through the rock. It adapts, it persists, and eventually it shapes the very mountain that once stood in its way. This is the nature of life itself. And yet, human beings, with all their intelligence, often do the opposite. They see one obstacle and turn back. They face one failure and give up. Not because they are weak, but because they have been conditioned to believe that struggle is a sign to stop rather than a sign to evolve. Imagine a person lifting weights in a gym. If they only ever lifted the same amount, never increasing the resistance, their muscles would never grow. The discomfort of heavier weights is not a sign to quit, it is a sign that strength is being built. The same is true for the mind. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of resistance is an opportunity to strengthen one's mental muscles. But this only happens if one pushes through rather than backs away. Fear of failure is one of the greatest illusions that holds people back. The truth is, failure does not exist, it is simply feedback. It is life saying, not this way, try another. Every great success has been built on a foundation of failures. But those who succeed are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to stop. They are the ones who understand that failure is only a stepping stone, a necessary part of the process. No one is born unstoppable. No one is born fearless. These qualities are developed by facing resistance, by stepping into discomfort, by choosing growth over comfort again and again. Every time a person decides to push forward despite fear, despite struggle, despite uncertainty, they are reshaping themselves. They are training their mind to become resilient, unshakable, unstoppable. There will always be challenges. There will always be resistance. But the question is not whether obstacles will appear, the question is how one chooses to respond. Will they see them as reasons to stop, or will they use them as fuel to rise? The greatest transformations happen not when life is easy, but when a person decides to face difficulty with unshakable determination. The moment this shift happens, nothing can stand in their way. Because the real battle is never against the world, it is against the part of the mind that believes in limitations. And once that battle is won, nothing remains impossible. There is a moment in every person's life when they stand at a crossroads, the safe path on one side, the unknown on the other. The safe path is predictable, comfortable, and free from risk. It demands nothing extraordinary, offers no real challenge, and guarantees that nothing will be lost. But it also guarantees that nothing will be gained. The unknown, on the other hand, is terrifying. It comes with uncertainty, struggle, and the possibility of failure. But it is also the only path where growth happens, where one's true potential is discovered, where life is lived fully instead of merely survived. The mind, however, is designed to resist the unknown. It clings to the familiar even when the familiar is limiting. It prefers a life of smallness over the discomfort of expansion. It convinces people that they are safer where they are, that stepping beyond their current reality is too dangerous, too difficult, too unrealistic. But the truth is, every extraordinary life, every great achievement, every deep transformation has only ever happened because someone was willing to step into the unknown despite the fear. Fear is not a real obstacle, it is a test. It asks one simple question: how badly do you want this? If the answer is weak, fear wins. If the answer is strong, fear dissolves. The difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise is not that one group has no fear and the other does. Both feel fear. The difference is that one acts despite it, while the other allows it to dictate their life. Consider the way fire transforms anything it touches. It burns away the old, reshaping and refining what remains. The unknown is like fire, it destroys the smallness, the fears, the limitations that have kept a person bound for so long. But most people never allow themselves to step into it. They stand at the edge, questioning, hesitating, waiting for the fear to disappear before they move. But fear never disappears on its own, it only disappears when one moves forward despite it. Think of the moments in life when growth has happened. Were they moments of comfort? Were they moments of predictability? No. Growth happens when the mind is stretched beyond its limits, when the familiar no longer feels satisfying, when one steps into situations where they have no choice but to evolve. Strength is not built in ease, it is built in adversity. Clarity is not found in the known, it is found in the unfamiliar. Transformation does not come through waiting, it comes through stepping forward even when the path is unclear. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the right moment, the perfect conditions, the absence of fear. But life does not wait. The perfect moment does not exist. And the only way to ever know what one is truly capable of is to stop waiting and start moving. Every great leap begins with uncertainty. Every breakthrough is preceded by doubt. Every transformation starts with the decision to stop letting fear control the narrative. A bird does not sit on the edge of a branch, worrying about whether it can fly, it simply spreads its wings. A river does not stop flowing because the path ahead is unclear, it moves forward, carving its way through any obstacle. This is the nature of existence. Everything in life moves, expands, grows except for the human mind that chooses to remain trapped in hesitation. But the moment one dares to step beyond hesitation, something powerful happens. The unknown, once feared, becomes a space of limitless possibility. The struggle, once avoided, becomes the force that builds resilience. The fear, once paralyzing, becomes irrelevant. Because in truth, it was never about the unknown, it was always about whether one was willing to trust in their own ability to navigate it. Nothing great has ever come from playing it safe. No dream has ever been realized by waiting. No transformation has ever happened without risk. The unknown is not the enemy, it is the gateway to everything one has ever desired. And those who have the courage to step into it will always be the ones who rise. There comes a time when one must realize that the chains holding them back were never real to begin with. The fears, the doubts, the hesitation, all of them exist only in the mind. And yet, people live their lives as if these invisible chains are made of steel, as if they are bound by something unbreakable. But the truth is, the only thing stopping a person from reaching their full potential is the belief that something is stopping them. Once that illusion is shattered, once a person truly understands that there is nothing in their way except their own hesitation, a new kind of freedom is born. Most people have been conditioned to believe that life happens to them, that they are at the mercy of circumstances, of fate, of forces beyond their control. But this is the greatest deception of all. Life does not happen to anyone, it responds to them. Every thought, every belief, every action shapes the direction of one's life. Those who see themselves as powerless remain powerless. Those who see themselves as creators, as forces of nature, as limitless beings, they shape reality itself. The only difference between these two groups is perspective. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One sees it as a curse, as something unfair, as a reason to complain. The other sees it as an opportunity, as fuel for growth, as a test of their strength. The first person shrinks under the weight of the challenge. The second rises above it. The challenge itself was the same, the difference was only in how it was perceived. And that is the secret that most never understand. It is never the situation that limits a person. It is their interpretation of the situation. Change the way you see something and you change the way it affects you. This is why true power is not found in external achievements, in wealth, in status. True power is found in mastering one's own mind, because the mind is either one's greatest weapon or one's greatest enemy. If it is left unchecked, it will fill itself with doubts, fears, and limitations. It will create problems where there are none, turn small challenges into mountains, and convince a person that they are less than they truly are. But if the mind is trained, if it is disciplined, if it is understood, then it becomes the most powerful tool a person can ever possess. There is a reason why some people remain trapped in the same cycles year after year, while others seem to break free and create extraordinary lives. The difference is not intelligence, it is not talent, it is not luck, it is mindset. Those who understand that their reality is shaped by their own perception take full control of their lives. They do not wait for things to change, they change themselves, and in doing so, they change the world around them. Think about the ocean. No matter how violent the waves may be on the surface, deep beneath there is stillness, a vast and unshaken calm. The mind must become like this. The world outside will always be chaotic, unpredictable, full of challenges. But when a person's inner world is unshaken, when their mind is under their control, nothing external can break them. They move through life with a kind of effortless strength, not because life is easier for them, but because they have mastered their response to it. The problem is that most people try to control the outside world while remaining a slave to their own thoughts. They try to change circumstances, avoid problems, demand that life become easier when the real solution is to become stronger. The storm outside does not matter if there is peace within. The challenges do not matter if the mind is trained to rise above them. This is the path to true power, not controlling the world, but mastering the self. The moment a person realizes that they are the creator of their own experience, that their perspective shapes their reality, that their power was never lost but only forgotten, that is the moment they break free. And from that moment on, nothing can hold them back again. The greatest illusion that holds people back is the belief that they need something more before they can begin. More time, more knowledge, more confidence, more resources. This endless waiting game keeps them trapped in hesitation while life moves forward without them. They stand at the edge of their potential, looking at the vastness of what could be, but never taking the step because they think they are not ready. But the truth is, no one is ever ready. The ones who achieve, the ones who rise, the ones who create extraordinary lives, none of them waited for readiness. They stepped forward despite their doubts, and in doing so, they became ready. Readiness is not something that comes before action. It is something that comes from action. A person does not become confident and then take action, they take action, and in the process develop confidence. They do not become fearless first and then move forward, they move forward, and in doing so, realize that fear was never as powerful as it seemed. Life rewards those who move, not those who wait. But hesitation is seductive. The mind creates endless excuses. I will start when I feel more confident. I will go after my dreams when I have more time. I will take that risk when I know I won't fail. But none of these moments ever come on their own. Time does not suddenly appear. Fear does not suddenly disappear. Certainty does not suddenly arrive. The only way forward is to stop waiting and start moving. Think of a child learning to walk. They do not wait until they have mastered balance before taking their first step. They step, they stumble, they fall, and they get up again. And through this process, they learn. If they waited until they were absolutely sure they would never fall, they would never walk at all. Yet, as adults, people forget this. They demand perfection before beginning, and in doing so, they paralyze themselves. The mind fears the unknown, so it tricks people into believing that preparation is the key to safety. But the truth is, no amount of preparation can replace action. A person can read about swimming for years, but until they enter the water, they will never truly know how to swim. They can plan, analyze, and strategize forever, but until they take the leap, nothing will change. Action itself is the greatest teacher. Every step forward reveals the next. Every failure provides a lesson. Every challenge builds resilience. The ones who succeed are not the ones who had the perfect plan. They are the ones who moved forward despite not having one. They stepped into the unknown, embraced the uncertainty, and trusted that they would figure things out along the way. Consider a seed. If it waits for the perfect conditions before it grows, it will never break through the soil. It simply begins pushing, stretching, growing regardless of the obstacles. And in doing so, it finds its way toward the sun. Human potential works the same way. Waiting for the right moment is the surest way to ensure that moment never comes. The only way forward is to begin imperfectly, uncertainly, even fearfully, but to begin nonetheless. Those who achieve greatness do not do so because they had all the answers. They did so because they acted before they did. They took the leap. They trusted in their ability to adapt, to learn, to grow. And in doing so, they discovered that the only thing that was ever holding them back was the belief that they needed something more before they could start. But there is nothing more needed. There never was. The only thing left to do is to begin. The mind is a battlefield, and the greatest war a person will ever fight is the one within themselves. It is a war between doubt and confidence, hesitation and action, fear and courage. But unlike the battles fought in the world outside, this war is not won by force. It is won by choice. Every thought, every belief, every action either strengthens the enemy of limitation or fuels the power of growth. And the truth is, most people have unknowingly spent their entire lives feeding the enemy. Every time a person listens to the voice of doubt, they hand over their power. Every time they hesitate, waiting for the perfect moment, they surrender. Every time they let fear dictate their actions, they reinforce the very chains that keep them bound. But what if, for just one moment, they stop listening to these voices? What if, instead of feeding their doubts, they fed their potential? What if they chose to silence the part of them that says, I can't, and instead amplified the voice that says, I will? The mind is not fixed, it is not a prison, nor is it unchangeable. It is like a muscle, capable of growth, capable of transformation. But just as a weak body cannot be made strong by sitting still, a weak mind cannot be made powerful through inaction. Strength of mind is built in the same way as strength of body, through resistance, through effort, through pushing beyond perceived limits. The only way to develop an unshakable mind is to train it, to challenge it, to refuse to let it remain weak. Look at the patterns of thought that dominate most lives. They are filled with hesitation, filled with self-imposed restrictions. I'm not smart enough. I don't have what it takes. It's too late for me. These are not truths. These are programs installed by years of conditioning, by past experiences, by a society that rewards compliance over courage. But just as these patterns were installed, they can be rewritten. And the only way to rewrite them is through conscious choice. A person is not their thoughts. A person is the observer of their thoughts. And if they are the observer, that means they have the power to decide which thoughts to feed and which to starve. If a negative thought arises, I'm not good enough, one does not have to accept it. They can choose to challenge it, to question it, to replace it. They can train the mind to think differently, to see possibilities where it once saw limitations. Think of a sculptor shaping a block of stone. The masterpiece does not appear instantly. It is revealed through removal, through chipping away at everything that does not belong. The same is true for the mind. The greatest version of oneself is already there, hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and false limitations. The work is not to add anything new, but to remove everything that does not serve, to carve away every thought, every belief, every habit that keeps one small. But this requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires the willingness to fight against the mind's resistance. There will be moments of doubt. There will be days when the old patterns return, whispering, go back to what is comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of growth. The only way to move forward is to choose discomfort, to embrace struggle, to see the mind's resistance not as a stop sign, but as proof that progress is happening. The moment a person understands that they are not their thoughts, that they have the power to shape their own mind, that their greatest weapon is not external force but internal mastery, everything changes. Because once the war within is won, nothing in the outside world can stand in the way. Nothing remains impossible. Nothing remains beyond reach. The battlefield was never out there, it was always inside. And the only thing left to do is decide who wins. There comes a moment when one must decide, will they continue to live as a shadow of their true self? Or will they rise into the fullness of their potential? This decision is not made once in a lifetime. It is made every day, in every thought, in every action, in every response to challenge and fear. The difference between those who remain stagnant and those who evolve is not intelligence, not luck, not circumstance. It is the ability to make this decision again and again without hesitation. Most people wait for a sign, for an external force to push them forward. They hope for inspiration, for motivation, for something outside themselves to make the decision easier. But the truth is, the world does not care whether one rises or remains the same. It will continue moving with or without them. The only force that can drive transformation is the fire that one chooses to ignite within themselves. But this fire does not sustain itself. It must be fed by action, by discipline, by an unshakable commitment to never again shrink into smallness. The moment one stops feeding this fire, hesitation creeps in, doubt finds its way back. The old patterns resurface. And before long, they find themselves back where they started, wondering how they lost their way. This is why mastery is not a one-time achievement, it is a lifelong practice. One does not reach their highest self and simply remain there. They must choose it every day. They must wake up and decide, today I will be better. Today I will not allow fear to dictate my choices. Today I will move, I will act, I will take control of my mind, my emotions, my life. The most powerful truth is this: everything a person seeks is already within them. Strength, wisdom, confidence, resilience, none of these things are external. They do not come from books, from teachers, from experiences. They come from within, from the willingness to access them, to claim them, to embody them. The problem is not that people lack power. The problem is that they have forgotten that they already have it. Look at nature. A tree does not question whether it is meant to grow. A river does not hesitate before carving its way through stone. The sun does not ask for permission before rising. Everything in existence expands, moves, evolves, except for the human mind that chooses to remain trapped in its own limitations. But that choice is not real. It is an illusion, a lie accepted as truth. And the moment one sees through it, the chains that have held them back shatter in an instant. Imagine standing at the edge of a great cliff, looking down at the vast unknown below. The mind screams, it's too far, it's too dangerous, what if I fall? But what if instead of falling, one learns to fly? What if the leap itself is the very thing that unlocks the wings? This is what most never realize. They stand at the edge for a lifetime, waiting for the fear to disappear. But the fear only disappears after the leap, never before. Life is happening now, not tomorrow, not someday, not when one feels ready. Now. The only thing standing between where one is and where they are meant to be is the choice to step forward, to move despite uncertainty, to trust that they are capable of more than they have ever imagined. There is no more waiting, no more hesitation, no more believing in false limitations. The time has come to rise, to break free, to unleash the fullness of what has always been within. The time has come to choose once and for all to become everything one was meant to be. There comes a moment when all the realizations must translate into one thing: action. Because no amount of knowledge, no depth of wisdom, no force of motivation can replace the power of simply taking the step. Everything that has been spoken here, everything that has been realized in this journey is meaningless if it remains only as thought. Thought without action is like a bird with no wings, full of potential but unable to rise. So the question is not whether you are capable. The question is not whether you have the strength, the intelligence, the power. You do. The only question is, will you choose to use it? No more waiting. No more waiting. No more standing at the edge of possibility, hoping for certainty before you leap. The moment is now. The power is yours. And the path has always been waiting for the one bold enough to walk it. So rise, move, become, and never again shrink from the greatness that has always been within you.